Hey everyone, it's Lynnea for LDRS Creative. Today we are looking at the Sweet Birthday Wishes card kit. I am absolutely head over heels in love with this card kit. It's perfect to make birthday cards for anyone in your life, and we're going to go ahead and take a look at all of the contents in this kit. Just a reminder though, this kit is limited edition, so if you are interested in this kit, you're going to want to head over to the LDRS Creative website and grab it while you can. Okay, so first up is a 4x6 stamp set full of all kinds of sentiments. I love the mix of the fonts and styles of sentiments. You're going to get a second 4x6 stamp set that has fun little elements like these 3 grouped balloons, which actually cut out individually, but you can stamp them all together. There's a little birthday cake, there's even strings to go with the balloons, and more sentiments. And see those little elements there? They fill in the balloons, which is awesome. So those balloons and strings are grouped together for one easy stamp, and then the dies are grouped together for one easy die cutting pass, but they will cut out individually. So you don't have to use them grouped if you don't want to. You're going to get a bunch of pattern papers. Feedback from customers have said that you want more pattern papers, so you're going to get 2 of each of these 6 amazing designs, and there's a pretty blue, hot pink, yellow. Love these designs, especially these last 2, these confetti pattern and these hexagons. I think they are so pretty. So 2 each of 6 designs, so 12 pattern papers. New to this month's kit are these clear acetate sheets, and these are printed in such a way that you can foil them. And there are 4 designs. So there's those music notes there. There's going to be these balloons, which is so cute. There's also a sheet of just various words that just repeatedly say happy birthday, and it's kind of jumbled together. Some of the letters are upside down, some of them are right side up, just a fun background. Then you're also going to get this last sheet that has a whole bunch of birthday sentiments that you can use as one background or cut them up for a whole bunch of sentiments for your cards. You'll get 3 sheets of cardstock, a pink and a yellow to match those pattern papers, and then check out this shimmery blue cardstock. Such a fun way to add accents of that blue shimmer to your cards. So let's take a peek. 3 of the pieces of cardstock, 4 acetate sheets, 12 sheets of pattern paper, 6 designs, 2 of each, then 2 stamp sets, and 1 coordinating die set. So much value packed into this card kit. Let's just jump right in. I'm going to be making 5 cards for today. So I'm starting here with the stamp set, and I'm going to grab the vertical happy. The happy is kind of shaped to look like balloons to me. They look like balloons, but you could color them just regularly. I'm going to stamp them a bunch of times with LDRS Creative Raven Hybrid ink. Now, if you want to know what color markers I'm going to be using to color this happy, go ahead and take a screenshot. I will be using these colors on these little happy balloons, as well as I'll color a cake later on. I didn't keep the coloring on screen, but these are the colors that I will be using. I thought that they would go well, and these are kind of my go-to rainbow colors. I'm sorry this is a bit blurry here. For some reason my camera didn't focus, but I wanted to keep the coloring in so you could see how quick and easy and simple my coloring is. I chose to go with 2 markers for each of the colors, just adding down a bit of the dark and then blending out with the light, but leaving some white space. Then I'm going to come in with my blender and blend that out, and that's going to give me natural highlights and make these look even more like balloons. I'm going to just continue on down the rainbow. You can see here I messed up. I added green on the second P, but that's okay because blue is going to cover the green right up. I ended up cutting out some of the strings to go with the balloons, and now I'm going to bring in a die from my LDRS Creative stash. This is the Slimline Basket Weave Pocket Die Set, and all I'm going to use is just the outer portion. So I'm going to have a fun little pocket-sized slimline card with the scalloped around the edges. I've arranged my happy balloons the way I want them to be, and I'm going to use a bit of masking tape to tape temporarily the strings onto the happy balloons because I didn't want them to move around. And then I'll just use strips of foam tape behind each of those little happy with the strings. But I'm only adding foam tape behind the happy. I'm not going to bother to cut tiny little strips behind my tiny strings. I rarely cut tiny pieces of foam tape. I don't feel that it's necessary in this case. I stamped a happy birthday from one of the stamp sets in the kit, and I bubble cut around that with my scissors, added another little strip of foam tape, and then I'm just going to position that at the bottom of my card, and that's card number 1 finished. Now let's play with those acetate sheets that are toner foil reactive. So in order to foil these, you do need a foil that is reactive with toner. There's lots of foils on the market. You need to make sure that you find one that is toner reactive. The heat foils will not work with this. All I'm going to do is pick a piece of my favorite foil, which is just plain old gold, and lay this onto my acetate sheet. Now you're going to know the side that will foil because it'll feel a little bit rough. The back side of the acetate is completely smooth, but where the acetate is printed will have just a little bit of roughness where the toner is. You'll lay your foil pretty side up onto the toner and run it through your laminator. I use my high heat setting. I find that works the best. And you're going to want to use a carrier sheet like a piece of parchment paper. I used that full balloon background and I foiled that. And then I also carefully cut apart some of the sentiments, and I'm going to foil those too. I'll use those on a second card, but while I have my laminator out, I'm going to foil everything all together. So check this out. You can even keep the negative piece of your foil and create a second card. I didn't do that today. I just wanted to show you how pretty these acetate sheets from the Sweet Birthday Wishes are all foiled up. And look at this, even these sentiments, so absolutely pretty. I can't get enough of this happy birthday, let's eat cake. I thought that was so cute, so I foiled those as well. Now, to complete this card, it took me a little bit of work. It just wasn't coming together the way I thought it was going to be in my head. That happens a lot to me, and so I just work around it, and I just keep trying things until I find something that I love. I grabbed my A2 stitched layered card toppers die set, and I thought that I would create a shaker card. So I'm going to stack the two dies together, the two largest dies, and I will add some skinny 1/8 inch tape around the outside. And you can see here I ran out of tape, so I had to get another roll. And I ended up, instead of doing a shaker card, I thought how pretty would it be to just back it with that blue shimmer cardstock. So instead of having sequins behind the gold foiled toner sheet, I'm just going to have that shimmery blue cardstock. And in the end, it's subtle, but it is so pretty to mix the foil with that blue shimmer cardstock. I thought it was really pretty. Now, here's where I kind of went astray and I changed things up at the last minute. I wanted to have that happy birthday, let's eat cake sentiment, and I needed a way for it to pop off the card. So since I had done that hot pink border, I'm just going to add a little bit of adhesive behind the sentiment and back that the gold foil with the hot pink cardstock. And then I'll just trim away the excess. I didn't love how it looked on this card. I thought that it was just too much pink on one color, which I didn't think was possible to have too much pink on one card, but it definitely was. That's okay. I will use that sentiment on my next card. So instead, I stamped a simple sentiment, and I'm going to use my scalloped circle frames die set and cut out that sentiment, and then also use another one of those dies to cut out a scalloped pink circle. And I thought that looked a lot better. It was just the right amount of pink, but I still needed something else. So I grabbed those dies, and rather than stamping the balloons and cutting them out, I'm just going to use that confetti paper, and this is actually left from my first card, and I'm going to cut out some of those balloons, and I'll position them around my my sentiment circle. I also did stamp and cut out some of those balloon strings. And here you go, card number 2. So shiny, so shimmery, and I really like the way that it turned out in the end. So don't be afraid to mess with your cards and change things around. Now I had those sentiments that were already foiled and backed with pink cardstock, and I was not going to let them go to waste. So I thought they would look cute on this second acetate sheet. And this is the one that just has those birthday kind of bubbly sentiments printed all over. And I wanted to show you that you don't have to use these with foil. If you don't have a laminator, or if you don't like to foil like I do, you don't have to use them with foil. They are see-through and perfect to use as a shaker card front, or just to position on a piece of cardstock and let the color shine through. So that's what I'm going to do. I chose that kind of honey yellow piece of cardstock, cut that down to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and the acetate sheet fits almost perfectly on there. It left just this perfect little border. To hide my adhesive behind the acetate sheet, I popped up that happy birthday, let's eat cake sentiment that I had previously foiled and backed with the pink cardstock, and I hid my adhesive behind those sentiment strips. So now that acetate sheet, I wouldn't say it's free flowing, but it kind of does lift up a little bit at the bottom. It's super fun. I added some enamel dots from my stash just to give it another pop of that blue, and this card is finished. So you can use those toner sheets, those acetate toner sheets, in the Sweet Birthday Wishes card kit with or without foil. I wanted to show you both ways. Let's move on now to card number 4. I'm going to do a little bit of stamping here. Again, this was a card that I kind of messed around with just a little bit. I'm going to be stamping with my LDRS Creative Alloy Hybrid ink. And I'm going to choose a sentiment, and I'm going to stamp it all over my background. Now, in the end, I chose a different sentiment, but I wanted to keep this part in here just to show you how I built my background. I'm not taking care to keep this super straight. I am essentially keeping it pretty straight, but I'm not going to be lining it up every time. You could use your stamp positioner if you wanted to, but I just wanted to build a quick background with a sentiment stamped repeatedly across it. And I wanted it to be subtle, so I chose the alloy ink. I'm just using a regular acrylic block, and I'm just going to stamp this sentiment all over my card base so that I can have a nice background, kind of making your own patterned paper, but just a really subtle pattern paper. Once that's done, I'm going to move on to stamping some of those balloons. Now, there's a whole bunch of pieces that you can use to fill up your balloons. There's flowers, music notes, hearts, and so I messed around with stamping those a little bit, and I used LDRS Creative Raven Hybrid ink for my balloons, and then I went on and I added some more LDRS Creative Hybrid inks. This one is, I believe it's Key Lime Pie. It's one of my favorite greens, and I'm going to build up the little floral arrangement in the big balloons here. In the end, I decided to use the floral arrangement on all 3 of the balloons. Now the floral arrangement is big, and it's meant to fit inside the biggest balloon. But with a bit of masking, all I did was just cover up part of the stamp with some masking tape. I was able to use it on the little balloons. You can mask, or don't be afraid to cut apart your stamps as long as you are cutting in between the parts that actually stamp. So if you're cutting just the photopolymer itself, you'll be absolutely fine to use that as a form of masking as well to stretch your stamps. So I'm going to show you, I think these are the little hearts, maybe. I used some LDRS, oh, these are the music notes. I used the LDRS Creative Raven Hybrid inks on all of these little balloons here. And I just was playing around to see how the shapes fit inside of each other. They don't have to be perfect. I overlapped some of mine, and I think that's absolutely fine. You can make them so they kind of fill up the whole balloon, or so they just settle at the bottom. Totally doesn't matter. But here's my 3 balloons, and like I said, I used just that floral arrangement and a bit of masking to have some really soft, some really feminine balloons. And as I was laying out my card here, the sentiment that I have stamped that says wishing you all the happiness, and the sentiment that was in the background that says make a wish, I just didn't feel like they were jiving together. I thought that I wanted to have this card wasn't really feeling birthday-ish to me. It was feeling more celebratory. So I thought, well, maybe I'll switch it up and just use an actual pattern paper. And I didn't like that. I thought the balloons in the pattern paper, they just weren't standing out enough. So in the end, I decided to go back and remake my background. So the sentiment that I have stamped for my sentiment strip, I went back with my Raven or with my Alloy hybrid ink, and I stamped that sentiment all over a card background. Again, it's very subtle. And now I can build my card background on top of here. And I thought in the end, this would be a great way to show how to use a birthday kit for other celebrations. So I think this could be great for an anniversary, a retirement, and it could be for birthday as well, but it totally doesn't have to be. So I'm going to go ahead and just arrange my balloons in a little cluster and add the strings down below. And then I'll just pop up that sentiment strip at the bottom with a bit of foam tape. Again, I just added some enamel dots from my stash, but this would look great with sequins or any kind of little embellishment that you have. For my last card, I'm going to make a shaker. I always like to make a shaker in these 5 cards 1 kit video just to show how much fun you can have with these kits. So again, I am using the Scalloped Circle Frames die set. I'm going to nest the 2 largest dies together, hold them in place with a bit of masking tape, and run that through my die cutting machine. And this is going to give me, well, first of all, a negative, like a little white circle that I'll keep in the back of my stamp pocket for the future. And it'll give me this white scalloped frame. I'm going to die cut my favorite pattern paper, this hexagon piece, or the honeycomb piece, whatever you want to call it. I'll use the largest die from the A2 Stitched Layered Card Toppers die set and cut that down just so that has a nice fancy little border to match that scalloped frame. Then I can start building my shaker. I added acetate to the back of my scalloped frame, and then I went all around with some foam tape, little strips of foam tape. And then you saw me there use my powder tool to remove any stickiness from the inside edge of my shaker well. It drives me crazy when the little pieces stick to the edges and don't shake around, so I always use my powder tool. I'm going to add my frame on top, and then I have colored a little birthday cake using the same markers that I showed at the beginning, and I'll add that on top with foam. And that's going to be the end of my 5th card. So let's take a look at all 5 cards that I used with the Sweet Birthday Wishes card kit. I'd love for you to tell me in the comments below which one is your favorite, and I want to thank you in advance for everybody for watching. As I go through and show you all 5 cards that I made, remember that the Sweet Birthday Wishes card kit, as with all of the LDRS Creative card kits, are limited edition, and once they're gone, they're gone. So as I'm making this video, there are still kits available in the LDRS Creative shop, and trust me, you want this one. It's an amazing value. I love these balloons with those little pieces that you can layer inside. I think that's a really unique idea, and this kit is perfect to make all kinds of birthday cards for your friends and family. So thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you again very soon. Bye!